Okay, guys, today I'm in the kitchen because I am going to make a German chocolate cake for a special friend of mine. So I said, why not record it? You know, I do this all the time, so let's do it. I haven't used my KitchenAid blender yet, so I'm excited about that. So that'll be the first time I'm using um, my blender, or my mixer rather. So I'm excited about that. So let me just clear this space and then we're going to get started, and I'm going to make the best German chocolate cake you have ever seen. All right. Clean the bowl. Like I said, I hadn't used this before, so I wanted to make sure that everything is clean. So this is a pretty simple process. So I want to just make sure I cover all the steps with you. So first, I need to melt the chocolate. So I'm taking 2 packages of this chocolate here, and I'm just going to break it up into smaller squares, because what makes this easy is that we can just microwave it. So if I just break these up, and I'm using the German chocolate, you'll see an extra one here. So the German chocolate squares. So I break these up as small as I can get them, so that way they don't take so long to melt. And then while I'm doing other things, I can just pour this in when it's ready. So it's basically 2 packages of that. And then I have a ½ cup of water already poured around here. So let's put that in there. All right. Oops. So I'm going to recycle as well. That's my recycle there. Recycle. Let's put this in the microwave for about 1.5 minutes. 130. All right, so I'm just going to combine my dry ingredients. So let me get a bowl for that. That's going to be flour. We're going to do, what is it, 2 cups. This is all-purpose flour. But what I like to use is the unbleached. I don't know why, it's just a favorite of mine, because the unbleached is not so white. It does have a little bit of color, and since we're going with a German chocolate, it makes sense to use a darker flour anyway. I mean, it's not too much darker than the regular flour, but the bleaching thing just, I don't know, doesn't sit well with me, so I use the unbleached. All right, so we got 2 cups there. And so what do we got next here? So I'm going to mix my dry ingredients. So I've already measured out about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Let's put that in there. Also the baking soda. Where is my baking soda? And baking soda, what is it? It's about 1 teaspoon. All right, so let me measure out a teaspoon of that. Want to get it level. Sprinkle. Go, see, that's ready already, so I'll get to that in just a minute. Okay, so what's next? So what I like to do from here is kind of let this blend together. And I like to use a whisk for that, just to start it out, because I'm going to actually pour this into the wet ingredients. And I'm going to use the blender for the wet ingredients, okay? So let's just set this aside. And let's get out the chocolate. Looks like it is starting to mix here. Hold on. Let's see what's going on. So yeah, so this is looking good. So see how nice and blended that is. So about 1:30 is the perfect boiling temperature, because anytime I'm making tea for myself, I usually do about 1:30, and it's usually pretty hot. So now this is all kind of blended here. So we'll hold off on this because I want to make sure I mix up my sugars and all that for the next, because that's going to be the next stage for all of the wet ingredients. So I'm going to set this aside as well. Let me just set it over here. And I got to melt the butter. I mean, the butter should be melted, maybe just softened. So let me just do that really quick. Just going to give that about maybe 12 seconds because I'm going to blend that with sugar. So with sugar, I have my cup here. So we're going to go with 2 cups of sugar. So it's 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar. So that makes it pretty easy. So let's go, let me just pour it in here. Might be a little easier. There we go, I just want to top it off. So there's 1 cup. Trust me, with baking, it does get a little messy because, you know, stuff flies everywhere, but that's okay too. I mean, that's part of the cleanup process. So we're okay, okay? I can do this. You can do this, right? So, okay, so we have the sugar, and then what I want to do is also add in, like I said, this is not melted butter, it's just softened butter. So let me just get that out. Drop that in there. Let's get all of that out. Because let me tell you, if it ain't got butter in it, trust me, it is not as good. So, okay, so we're going to just kind of cream this together, right? So I'm just going to use a lower speed and then got to speed it up as it goes. So let's just do that now. So let's start out low. And then we just see how it blends together. This comes in a stainless steel, so I'm glad that I got this clear. You can actually see what's going on in the bowl. So I do switch them out. The stainless steel is good for when you're doing like whipped cream and things like that because you can control the temperature a little bit more. But for regular cakes and all, this works just fine. So, all right, so I'm going to mix this to a creamy state. Okay, all right, I think that's good enough for now. So I'm going to leave it on a very low because what I'm going to do is start mixing in a few more. Excuse me, I just got to clean up while I go. I'm going to mix in a few more ingredients, right? So the next thing I want to do, I'll just turn it off so you can hear me, is that I need to separate eggs. And so how I'm going to do that is basically, let me see here. I'm just going to use the yolks. So how I do that is just basically crack it. And then I do have 2 half shells. And I just carry it back and forth, so that the only thing remaining in the shell is the yolk. I add that into a cup, and then I proceed to the next one, and this is going to be the process for all 4. Oh my gosh, so this one kind of got a little crazy. So what I'm going to do is try to scoop it out. I could have been a little bit more careful with that, but fortunately, the skills, saved the day with that. So let me just scoop out the last little bit. So, okay, so that one's good. And then the last, see, don't be afraid to do this stuff because it is fixable. If nothing else, we could have started back over. We could have saved those eggs for scrambled eggs in the morning. So it's no big deal. So I'm going to do the last one here. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth. The egg white is coming out, and so the remaining is the yolk. So now we have 4 here. So let me put that aside. And I'll keep the egg white because, like I said, I can make an omelet. I can make it scrambled later. So let's not worry about that right now. So what I'm going to do is turn back on the blender, and I want to mix these in, if possible, one by one. So definitely just maybe a little at a time. Let me speed it up just a little bit more. Drop. So see how well that is blending. So now we have the 4 eggs in there. All right, let me just get a spoon because I want to get it all out. Oops. All right. All right, so getting all that goodness out of there. So I'm just going to keep that going. So the next thing I'm going to add is I need a vanilla extract because vanilla is for the flavor. So I'm going to use about a teaspoon of vanilla flavor in there. That's for the goodness. Now, vanilla flavor will give you a lot of flavor. It goes a long way if you use the pure vanilla, okay? That is blending now. So let's see what's next. I want to make sure that I add, so I have the butter, I have the salt, I have the baking soda, I have the flour. So next what I want to add is the chocolate, and then I also want to incorporate the buttermilk. This uses 1 cup of buttermilk. But the buttermilk is important when you're blending between the creamy, wet, and the flour. So you want to just go back and forth between those two. So let me just add the chocolate. Alright. See there? We're starting to get the chocolate look for the layers. And this is going to make, by the way, 3 layers, 3 9-inch layers. And I'll show you that in just a minute. So let's get this out the way. I'm going to clean up a little bit. And I'll be right back with you. All right, so here we go. I have cleared off just a little bit, getting a little bit of this stuff out my way. But what I want to do now is add my dry ingredients in here with my wet ingredients. So let's get a spatula here, spoon or something. This wood spoon will do. So what I want to do is alternate between the buttermilk, 1 cup of buttermilk, and all my dry ingredients. So I'm just going to put just a little at a time, because I don't want it to just fly everywhere. So just do a little bit of that, maybe in thirds. So that's 1/3. So let's do 1/3 of the buttermilk. We'll let that mix at a low speed. Next, just do a little more, about 1/3, okay? All right, see it's trying to come out, so I gotta make sure that I don't overdo it. And 1/3, okay? Let that mix just a little, I'll turn it up just slightly. Okay, turn it back down. And now the last part of it. Okay. So that's all of it. Let that mix. Let me get this out of the way. And then the last of the buttermilk. Get all that in there, all that goodness in there. Nothing like buttermilk in a cake. So let's see, my spatula here. So I want to use this just to take down the sides just a little bit, because I want everything to mix. So I'm just trying to scrape the sides a little bit while it's mixing. All right. So the one thing that I was doing was beating eggs. The egg whites that we use is 4 egg whites, right? So it's the residual of the egg yolk. You remember we did the half and half. So anyway, normally I would do this with the blender, but since I'm recording this, I just did it by hand. So I want to get them as fluffy as possible. So I'm doing it by hand. So I'm just doing it enough. And what I'm going to do is fold it into the mixture. What this does is it makes your layers a lot more light and fluffy. All right, it's fluffy enough for me. So as low speed, I'm just going to lightly put this in here. Just going to mix around. I don't want to overbeat it either. I just want to make sure it just is blended, right? So let's scrape out all that we can. All right, so now it's looking like light and frothy. And I think we beat it enough, so I'm just going to turn it off right now. So let's take this up. Here we go. Let's take that up. Let's get all of that off. All right. So, and when I come right back, I'll show you how to put them in the pan. We're going to get them in the oven. We're going to do it about 350 for about 20-25 minutes. But I like to just kind of poke it with a toothpick to make sure that it's done. But anyway, I'm just going to put these in layers. And then the frosting, off the chain frosting for German chocolate cake. So, all right, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back with you, and I just needed some sparkling water because doing all this talking, come on now, it's a lot of work. Actually, it's not. So guess what? So we have this mixed, and what we're going to do is put them in 3 9-inch pans. I like to use parchment paper, but if you ever buy like this cooking spray, I mean, it's almost like it's got flour in there. So it makes the job much easier. So let me get the pans and I'll show you. Okay, so I have 3 9-inch baking pans. And like I said, if you had parchment paper, you can line the bottoms and still butter it, and or use some type of shortening so that it comes out easy. But this makes it so much easier. Let me show you. So look, I just take this and I just spray, right? Spray all the way around, and it's flour and the oil mixed, right? So you can get a good coat and you don't have to worry about, see that? It's all over, it's all over. So do the last one. And that's just like a matter of less than a minute, okay? Get it all around. And so, and guess what? My hands are still clean. So yeah, I can just use this and then call it a day. So now what I want to do is just take this and I just want to spread it evenly in each one of the layers. So like I said, we got 3 layers here. So here we go. So I want to do these. I put some in one, go to another, and then I can always go back and fill in so that each layer is pretty even. So let's see who's got more, who's got more. This one can take a little bit more. This one a little bit more. See, and I think they're pretty balanced. See, I can eyeball it. I mean, if you want to be a perfectionist, you can weigh them out. I'm not doing that because guess what? As close as possible, you have all the flavors, you have all the ingredients, so it's going to be spread throughout each one of them. The main thing is that you just don't want one extra thin because of the cooking time. You want to make sure that they're evenly spread because you don't want a layer to be overcooked, right? Or over baked. So let's see, spread. So they look pretty even to me. I mean, I don't see any difference between the 3, so it is perfect. So what's happening now is that the oven is at 350 degrees. As soon as it stops preheating, I'm going to get these boys or girls, boys and girls, into the oven, and then within like 20-25 minutes, we will see the best layers. And then I'm going to show you how to put it together. But first, I got to show you the frosting. So stick around. We'll do that in the next segment. So I'll talk to you in just a few minutes. But let me tell you, it's always good to taste it. Yes. Okay, I am back with you, and we're going to make the German chocolate frosting, which is kind of this chocolatey. Well, actually, I'm going to use chocolate on the side, but the actual mix is like a coconut, pecan, caramelized, brilliant mixture. So it makes the German chocolate just so golden, so tasty, so rich. So anyway, it's deserving because I'm cooking this, like I said, for a special person. So, but let's get to the ingredients. So basically what I'm going to do is take a can of evaporated milk. And all of this is going to be heated, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the saucepan right now. So we'll do the full can. All right. So full can is about 12 ounces, by the way. And so I'll recycle that. And it takes 3/4 cup, which is about 1.5 sticks of butter. Lots of butter. Butter makes it good. So I'm going to put that in there. I already cut it up. All right. So we'll put that in there. And like I said, all of this will be heated. This next thing I want to do is put in some sugar. Of course, sugar. It has to be sweet as a dessert. So it's about 1.5 cups sugar. Let's just pour it in there. One. See, I told you about the mess, so just prepare for it. I have a lot of cleaning to do after this. So, 1.5. So I'm going to use 1/2. That is about right. Just put that in there. All right. So I am done with the sugar. So before I do the other part, let me go ahead and separate my eggs because I do want the yolk part because it's the thing that's going to make it really golden and very rich. All right. So let's do that same process again. So side to side, just taking out the whites, separating. So that's one. And I'll just continue this. So I have my egg yolk in here. And so what I'm going to do now is add the egg yolk into the mixture with the milk, the butter, the sugar. And I mentioned vanilla, but actually I'm going to add the vanilla at the end because I don't want it to overcook because the vanilla I want it to be fresh and sharp. So we'll save that towards the end. At the end we're going to add coconut, pecans, and the vanilla. Okay, sorry I forgot about that. I had to go back to the book. Okay, I'm back with you and I'm just adding the yolk mixture to the milk, the butter, and the sugar because all of this is going to cook together. I mentioned the vanilla, but I want the vanilla later because I want it to be sharp and very present into this frosting. So at the end, we'll add the vanilla, the coconut, and the pecans. So I have a special trick for the pecans I'm going to share with you shortly. But I'm going to go ahead and get this onto the stove and I'm going to cook it down. So the way that I'm going to cook it down is that I'm going to cook it so that the sugar dissolves. After it dissolves, I'm just going to cook it at a low speed for about 12 to 14 minutes. And I'm going to continuously stir it and we'll have a caramelized mixture, which then I will add those last ingredients. And then we have frosting. We just wait for it to cool. And by the way, the layers are still in the oven. So I think we have about 6 more minutes on them. So probably by the time I get back, we will be putting this together. Okay? All right, see you in a minute. So I want to take the layers out now. So they are ready. I usually use a toothpick just to make sure. See, the timer's going off. Use a toothpick just to make sure they're okay. So let me just stop that. And the layers look absolutely delicious. So I'm going to let them cool, obviously. So I have, like I said, I have 3 layers. I'm just going to put them on a cooling rack for now. And then we're going to put them all together just shortly. But I need to work on the frosting first. So that's what this is about. So what I have done so far is to take evaporated milk, egg yolk, sugar, and butter that has been cooked on medium heat for about 12 to 13 minutes. And now it's a rich pudding, if I can say it, pudding type texture. So I'm just going to give it a stir just a little, and then what I'm going to do now is add the decadence. First, I'm going to add 2 cups of coconut, and this is sweetened coconut because this is a dessert, so everything is sweet, okay? So don't worry about it. You don't have to eat it all right now. So I'm going to first put in the coconut. And like I just mentioned earlier, there is a secret to the pecans. 2 cups of toasted pecans. So what I wanted to do is I could either put them in the oven and let them toast, but what I chose to do is just put them in a pan on the top of the stove. Just put a little coconut oil in there and then just let them cook and just get just a little bit of richness through being heated up. So I'm going to add those 2 cups in here. And then the last thing, I talked about the vanilla. So what I want to do with the vanilla flavoring, and it's pure vanilla flavoring, is take 1 1/2 teaspoon, add it in there, because it's going to sharpen it. It's going to give it so much more flavor. Delicious. I'm just saying, delicious. So I'm going to mix all of these ingredients together. Just use my wire whisk here. And then what I'm going to do is just let it sit. Just going to let it sit. It's going to thicken. and then it's going to be perfect for frosting the cake. So both of these actually need to sit. So I would give it maybe 30, 40 minutes so that they are all quite cool, so you can spread, and then that way you don't have to worry about that shifting and that, you know, crazy stuff that goes on, right? And what I mean by shifting is that your cake, once you lay your cake, it can drift, right? But when it's cool, it will stay solid, so that way when you put on your third level or layer, then that way it stays stacked and uniformed, and then when you spread, it's not moving along with you, it stiffens, okay? So that's what I mean by that. So anyway, just give me a minute, actually a few minutes, and I'll be right back with you, and we're going to put all of this together, okay? Just see you in 1 minute. Okay, I'm back with you. So now what we're going to do is start the layering process. I've already added the coconut, the pecans, and the vanilla flavoring to the mixture of the butter, evaporated milk, and the sugar, right? And then what it does is comes up with this really decadent, really, really good frosting. So what I'm going to do is load it on, and we'll do this layer by layer. So basically I've taken some wax paper just so that once I frost it, I can pull it off and you don't have all of that residual frosting around the edges, and it looks nice and clean. So let's go ahead and start the layering. So I'll just take some scoops here, and what I'm going to do is just put this kind of pecan coconut in the center, and then I've also made chocolate frosting that's going to go around the perimeter. It's going to make it look really nice, so it doesn't all look like one consistent big ball of pecan and coconut. It's going to give you two-level effect, right? So you'll get the taste of the chocolate, and also you'll get the pecan and the coconut. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to spread this, and once this cools off, it's rather thick, so it goes on very well. So I like to do like really, really thick layers in between. So I'll just pile this on, and the more that we put in the center, the higher the cake becomes. So I want it to be a little dramatic anyway, so I want to go ahead and just layer it probably about, I don't know, I wouldn't even say it's a fourth, maybe an eighth or a fourth, somewhere up in there. So it's just going to add a little bit of height to the cake. So, but I want to make sure I have full coverage. So that is the first layer. Now the other layers have cooled as well. So what I'm going to do is take the next one. I always like to keep the prettiest for the top, right? So we'll just go with the next layer, turn it upside down, and lay it right on there. All right, perfect. And so we'll do the same thing. So I'll just load it up with this coconut pecan frosting. Spread it around. Oh my God, it smells so good. So I'm trying to avoid tasting it. You know, sometimes, you know, you gotta taste as you go, but then again, if I taste it, that's just like having a whole piece of cake. So, and I don't need that. I want to experience all the flavors at once, so I'll just wait until it's cut, and in that way I'm getting the full experience of this. Okay, so this one's just about done. All right, like I said, nice and thick. So I'll put the last one on, and I want to make sure that I gauge it so that everything looks even all over. So that looks perfect. It's a nice stack. So from here, I'll take at least the remaining part of it, and I want to stack it up in the middle here, because like I said, I want to use just regular chocolate that I've made on the sides. And to make that chocolate frosting, only thing it is really confectioner sugar, butter. I use a little bit of milk just to get it creamy, and then also some vanilla flavoring. So those are only ingredients. Oh, and it's chocolate, so you have to use cocoa powder, so make sure you use that as well. And based on the recipe that I did with this is just enough to cover the 3 layers as I just mentioned. So we want that nice and pretty on the top, and I'll just keep just a little bit just in case I need to fill in any gaps. So, but I'm just going to set this aside, because the next thing I'm going to do is start layering or adding the chocolate around the perimeter. The contrast is just gonna look really, really nice, so watch it. So what I've done is create this nice milk chocolate. I mean, like I said, it's very easy to make. And I'm just gonna use, let me just move this out the way. I like to use a flat knife. So this is nice, or you can get a cake spreader. I mean, if you want to be fancy and everything, but this works just fine. So what I'm gonna do is just take the chocolate and just move it around the sides. See, just having that contrast, you get a bit of the chocolate, you get some of the caramelized pecans with the coconut. It just really just adds one more depth of flavor. Just like I did with toasting the pecans, it just adds another layer. So all of these actually go well together. And since we're dealing with chocolate, why not emphasize chocolate on this cake? So I'm going to continue this, and then I'm going to show you the final product in a minute. So just hang on, and I'll be back with you shortly. All right. Okay, we are at the final, and what I've done now, the coconut pecan mixture is on the center, the frosting, and it's throughout each layer. So what I've done is taking homemade milk chocolate that I've made with cocoa powder, confectioner sugar, butter, and a little bit of cream, and mixed it together, and it's all the way around the perimeter. I piped it, and if you don't have a piping bag, just use a Ziploc bag, cut the corner, and just squeeze it out, and it'll come out perfectly. So what I've done now is I'm going to remove, or what I'm going to do now is actually remove the wax paper that I mentioned. So let's just move each of these. And what it does, it just cleans up the plate just a bit. Oh my gosh, so now it looks perfect. So I'm going to bring it closer. So what we have now is a perfect German chocolate cake. So let me just bring it over to you so you can see it. And we are all done. I mean, this is going to be such a surprise tomorrow when I give it to the guests. So there we go. And I like it just a little bit rough around, just to give it that texture. So you see that? The piping around. You see the chocolate? It is going to be absolutely delicious. So I'll just put it on this cake plate for now. I'm going to let it set, so it'll just take maybe about 20 minutes to set. And then I'm going to box it up very nicely. I might just show you that, but it's going to be great. So, oh, I got a call, so this is perfect. So I'm going to go, I'm going to take this call, and I'll get right back to you. All right, take care.